minute. I appreciate it. So, Mandy and I are super pumped up after Summit. It was amazing. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I had to run out to my car. Anyways, my first Summit, I knew it was supposed to be awesome, but it was more than I thought it would be. But I'm not really going to talk to you all about that right now. I had some moments, some revelations, and I wanted to share some of it while it was fresh on my mind. But one of the biggest things that I just saw at Summit that was, I don't know, crazy to me, was that as they called each team name and people up, I saw our team there. And it gave me chills because I know that our team is special. And I know that our team has the power to do what they have done, touch the lives that they have touched. And I know that this team views Mandy and I as the leaders. But I truly know that each of you have a leader inside of you. And I know that each of you, I don't like to think of this team as that Mandy and I are the leaders. I really like to think of it as an equal family. And I want this, I know that we were all brought here for a reason. And I'm going to share with you here in a minute why I think that. I think with all of my being that God brought us all together because we all need each other. Each one of us are more than just faces on this call. We were all brought together for a reason. And I think we have a unique opportunity to do something big. I want us all to become a family. It's part of the reason why Mandy changed the name. I want us to become more than just a team of coaches that try to sell challenge packs and help people lose weight. I want it to become something deeper than that. Because for me, it already is something deeper than that. And I want to share with you a little bit about how I know that. So I'll apologize in advance because I'm probably going to cry. And if you know me, I don't cry often unless I'm mad or really, really sad. But this time I'm crying because God made something very obvious to me while I was there. And I want to share it with you. So I want all of us, like I said, to get to know each other. And I think that some of you guys, a lot of you guys don't know me and what made me me and what's brought me to be here and be the person that I am. And I think just like I don't know you in all the ways that I hope to know you. And that's going to change here, hopefully, in the next few weeks. I have some things planned for us. But first, I think it's important for you to know me and know where I came from. So I'm going to share that with you guys tonight. I'm not going to try not to ramble long. But, so I'm going to start kind of from the beginning and hit the highlights of my life to tell you what brought me to here. So I say that I was born with anxiety. I was born with it from an early age. I swear I had it. It took over my mind. I remember as a child, I was probably 6 or 7, crying, being convinced there was something wrong with me, begging my parents to take me to the emergency room because I knew that there was something wrong with me. My parents, being the good parents they were, they would take me and spend hundreds of dollars that we didn't have on medical bills just to help me get that comfort. Luckily, as I grew up, I kind of got a little bit better control of that, I guess. I had a normal childhood, a great childhood with awesome parents, and I wouldn't change a thing. So fast forward to middle school. I would consider myself one of the popular ones in the more in crowd, I guess. And then one day, suddenly that changed. I was in 8th grade, and suddenly my friends, for no reason, I never really discovered the reason or know why, suddenly kind of turned on me, and all of a sudden I was the victim of bullying. I had a group of about 8 girls that bullied me, pushed me down the stairs, threw food at me in the lunchroom, made fun of me, what I wore, made fun of my family, made fun of the way I talked. And these people had previously been my best friends. I played basketball with them, and there was no reason. I cried myself to sleep so many nights. And at that time, the type of person I was, I just hid. I just cried. Like, I didn't know what else to do. It got so bad. My parents were so upset. They didn't know what to do. My mom worked in the school system. She saw it happening to me, but she felt powerless. It got so bad to where one night I started vomiting blood. My parents rushed me to the ER. And after some extensive testing the following days at the pediatric hospitals, I had bleeding ulcers as a result of the stress. All the anxiety come back, and my family and I decided to switch schools. So after basketball season ended around Christmas, after Christmas, I switched to Ohio County schools. My dad was a school teacher at the high school, and we thought it was the best move for me. I was able to go to kind of start over, to start at a new school where no one knew me. And it was my fresh start. Being bullied had changed me. I decided that I was going to stand up for myself this time. I wasn't going to be the victim again. Luckily, I met a great group of girls who I'm still lifelong friends with today. I had a good high school experience and moved on. In college, I met my husband, Chase, and upon meeting him, I had been in a 3-year relationship off and on, but we had ended things. I met Chase a month later and was really mad because I knew very quickly he was the one, and I wanted to be single. But we met and we were married 11 months later at the young age of 22. I was one of those weird people who always knew I wanted to be a physical therapist from high school. So that was my dream. I was graduating college. I had married and met the love of my life, and I was going to apply to PT school. A month into my marriage, I suddenly was struck with this horrible anxiety again. No idea where it came from or why, but it was controlling me. Chase had never seen me that way, and he didn't understand. One day I called my mom from work, and I just said, "Come get me. I don't know what's wrong with me." She took me to the doctor, and that's when I started anxiety meds. I was in depression as a result of my anxiety, and I was just, I don't know. I was in a room full of people with people that loved me and cared about me, but I couldn't enjoy life because my mind controlled me. Luckily, after a few months, things balanced out and I got better. I got accepted to PT school. We moved to Lexington, and we kind of had a fresh start. While in PT school, I was able to get off anxiety meds, and I had a great experience. I graduated, got my doctorate. All my dreams seemed to be coming true. I was pregnant with my first child, Ainsley. By the time I graduated, I was 8 weeks pregnant, and we had decided we were going to stay in Lexington. But one morning I woke up and I felt like God was telling me something. And I told Chase I had a feeling that we needed to move home. We needed to go back to Bowling Green. So we did. After long thoughts, it worked out. I got a job down there and we moved. So we moved back. We bought a house. Everything seemed perfect. And I had Ainsley, and I was, totally in love with her and being a mom. When she was 9 months old, I cut back to part-time and in order to stay home with her. I would say when she was about a year old, I started getting a feeling like something was missing. That something was like I was giving myself as a mom, as a wife. All I was doing was giving myself. But I felt like I needed something. Like I needed something else. I needed another purpose. I needed something to put myself into. I needed something. It wasn't work. It was something else. But about around the time I started feeling this, I found out I was pregnant with Knox. I was 10 weeks pregnant before I knew that I was pregnant with him. And all of a sudden, I was happy but overwhelmed because I knew that this desire I had within me was that I was just going to continue to be a mom and pour myself into Knox. When I was 31 weeks pregnant with Knox, I got a phone call that would forever change my life. I was on a plane back from Denver from visiting my best friend, and my mom called to tell me that the school had called and they had taken my dad to the hospital. They thought he had had a stroke. Very, very close to my family. 3 days later, we learned that he had a golf-sized tumor in his lung and had less than 6 months to live. My entire life changed in that instance. I didn't know what to do, but I was angry. And I had this baby that was coming. And honestly, I didn't even know what I was going to do. A week later, I started having contractions while at work. And long story short, went to the hospital in active labor and had to stop it. The doctor told me, "You're on bed rest." I said, "It can't be possible because my dad has surgery next week and I'm the medical person and I'm supposed to be there." But I couldn't be. So luckily, I held Knox in and I didn't have him until I was 38 weeks. But here I had this little baby. But I couldn't be as happy as I should be. I couldn't bond with him like I should be because I was just so angry and stressed, and bringing him into my life was only going to make it harder. What was I going to do? My parents, my family needed me. Now I have 2 babies to take care of. I can't even take care of me. I don't know what I'm going to do, right? So I just went into I don't know what mode I was in. I would go to work and go through the motions. I was so angry at God. I would nurse Knox and then hand him off as quickly as I could. I didn't bond with him like I should have. I was his life source with nursing, but then I would just hand him off because I had so many things to do. I had a 2-year-old that needed me. I had a dad who was dying. I had a mom that was a wreck. And that's all I did was pour myself into everyone else and not worry about me. But inside, I was broken in every way that could be broken. You would think I was making it up if I told you all the things that happened to my family that year. Soon after we learned about my dad, my sister started planning a wedding. Her and her boyfriend at the time had been together for 7 years. And it was time for them to get married. She wanted my dad to walk her down the aisle. She was supposed to be married September 27th, and luckily Dad had been doing really good that week. We were still hopeful that maybe the experimental treatment he was on was going to work. But the morning of my sister's wedding, my mom calls me to tell me that my dad's unresponsive, and they called an ambulance. My sister and I rushed to the hospital to find my dad, who can barely open his eyes. He's on oxygen suddenly. And it would come to the realization that maybe he wasn't going to make it to the wedding. I had to leave. My mom was a wreck to go help my sister try to enjoy her day. 10 minutes, he was supposed to be taken straight to Vandy, but my dad refused. 10 minutes before my sister walked down the aisle, my dad showed up in an ambulance with oxygen on, could barely stand to walk her down the aisle. It was obviously a very emotional time. I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. He made it down the aisle, and I had to leave. within a few minutes after the wedding and go down to Vandy. I had to put on this fake smile and act like everything was okay, right? My sister was getting married, and I had to be the maid of honor and give a speech and act like I was happy. Go smile and hug people and have a party, because life's a party after a wedding, right? We were there till 2 a.m. cleaning up, got home, got the kids in bed. At 4 a.m., my mom calls to tell me that my dad's coded. She doesn't think he's going to make it. I need to get down there. My sister's on a plane to her honeymoon. I get knocked out of bed because I don't have any milk left to give him. I'm too stressed. I can't pump milk. I'm his lifeline, so he comes with me. Luckily, Dad pulled through. Later on in December, we were told the week before Christmas that my dad had about a week left to live. We were prepared to lose my dad at Christmas. Luckily, my dad was so hard-headed, he refused to let that happen. I remember on New Year's Day on January 2015, sitting and talking to Chase, and I was crying. I told him when this was all over that I needed something. That there was something in my life I was missing, and I had to find it. I told him that I realized life was so short and I needed to take care of myself, and I needed to do it for me so that I could be a better mom and a better wife. So we talked about all kinds of stuff. I was resentful to him. He had a hobby. He had soccer. He could go to the gym on his lunch break. He had all these releases and I had nothing. He said, Keish, get a hobby. I said, like what? Like what? What am I going to do? I had nothing. Nothing I could even think of that I wanted to do. Nothing that would be strong enough that I wanted to do to take me away from my kids. That guilt, right? That mom guilt. Like if I do something for me, like I'm not supposed to do that. I just told him I had to figure out something. A couple of weeks later, I was talking to my dad. And the amazing thing about my dad was throughout his entire sickness, he was never angry or mad. He always said, sis, it's going to be okay. I've lived a good life. I'm not scared. I know where I'm going. I just sat and talked to him, and I told him how angry I was, how lost I was, and how broken I was. How I knew I didn't think I could ever go on after I lost him, and I was always going to be this way. I couldn't stand to listen to Christian music. I couldn't stand to walk in church. I had a devotional that I read every day, and I felt so often that it spoke to me. But I was still so angry because I never felt like God was answering my prayers, and it was making me mad. Why couldn't my dad stay here? Why couldn't he live? And I told all this to my dad. Luckily, we were very close, so we could have just very straightforward conversations. And that was a blessing because there was nothing left unsaid between any of us before my dad left. There's no regret. And he told me, and my dad always had this way throughout my entire life. When something was going on, I would tell him about it. He said, sis, I'll pray about it. Then he'd come to me a few days or a week later, and he'd say, sis, God's already taken care of it. I can't even pray about it anymore. He's already taken care of it. I was like, gosh, I wish I had that relationship with God. Like, why don't I get that feeling? As I'm sitting there telling my dad how angry I am and how my life will never be the same, he looks at me and tells me, sis, I know that there's a huge blessing coming your way, and you have no idea what it is yet. But God's plan is perfect, and he's got something big that's coming. So after I'm gone, you're going to do something big. Because you were meant for something else. And I cried. And I couldn't see how that could ever be possible. Because it was such a dark time. Dad passed on March 11th, 2015. And as I sat there and held his hand, something changed inside of me. And God took the anger away. He gave me a peace that somehow I could get through it. After I talked to my dad that time in February that I'm talking about, I started praying to God sometimes when I could make myself pray, because again, I was angry. That he would show me what it was that I was supposed, like what was supposed to come of this, like what was supposed to happen in my life as a result of this. Like, how could anything good come of it? And I started just praying for him to show it to me. 4 weeks after my dad died, I decided it was time to make a change. I'd been looking at the 21-day fix. I decided I was going to start it, but I was too cheap to buy it. I looked up all the measurements on Pinterest. I started measuring out my foods with the measuring cups. I started watching some girl named Tanya on YouTube that did the fix videos. I'd rewind her and do them again. She'd do 15 minutes and then I'd rewind her and I'd do it again. I did this for a little bit. And then I finally bought the stuff off Amazon. And then one day in my news feed, some chick named Mandy showed up. And I clicked on it. It was a free group she was offering. And I decided to jump on. Long story short, it's brought me to here. Even when I told Mandy I was going to coach, I didn't know that this was what God had planned. It wasn't, I knew this entire year that it was filling me. I knew this entire year that it was helping me through. It was helping me grieve, and it gave me a purpose. It gave me that release, that something to do, to feel like I was making a difference. It gave me that ability to reconnect with people and to socialize with people and to form relationships with you all. And it wasn't until we were sitting there at Summit, surrounded by all those people, that I had the overwhelming feeling God, then I knew this was it. And that's why I know I can look at all of you all and know that we were all brought to here together for a reason. And that all of our lives can be better. We have the power to do something incredible. We have God behind us. There's no better partner, right? So I just share with you my story and why when people tell me no, I can't stop. Why I stay up late at night to do this. Because I know it's the purpose. Because there's something greater. It's not about me. It's about other people. It's about you guys. It's about the challengers that we help and the people that we touch. So I just shared with you a little piece of my why. What keeps me going with the ups and downs of this business and in life. And not everyone, well, everyone has a story. And me and Chase were talking about this today. He was talking about some revelations he had while at Summit because, again, Summit isn't just about coaching. It's so much more. He was just talking about some things that he learned, and he was just saying, I was like, well, what's your why? Like, why do you want to be healthier? His father and brother are obese, and that's why he wants to make sure that he doesn't end up in that state. He wants to live to see our kids grow old. He wants to stay active, right? So that's what keeps pushing him forward. And we talked about how so often in life something like really big and bad has to happen before we get that revelation that we want to change. And that's the way it was for me, right? I had to lose my dad. I had to go through all of that because before then I knew that something was missing, but I didn't know what. And I was just going through the motions of this life. And I don't want you to wait until something bad happens. I want you to make the decision to do something better for you. You're all here for a reason because you strive to be better and because you have a desire in your heart to help others do the same. So some of you may not know what your why is, but there's power in your why. And that why is what's going to drive you when the cards are stacked against you, when the world is coming at you, when everyone is telling you no, when your kids have a million things going on, when your schedule is busy, all of those things, your why is what's going to see you through, what's going to keep you focused and keep you pushing forward. So what I want to do for those who want to join is I want to have what I'm going to call a why camp. And this isn't going to be a training full of a bunch of lessons, but I want us to get to know each other. And I want us to get to know each other on the deeper level. Not I'm a mom of 2 or I'm a college student and I like chips and I like to watch The Bachelorette on TV, right? Like, I want to know you. So I'm going to put together a why camp. There's going to be a couple of little exercises, like 1 or 2 days of just things to help you find your why if you don't know what it is. And then in the group, everybody will pick a day, and each day someone from our team will go live in the group and share their why. You don't have to cry like me. Good for you if you don't. So if you do, it's okay. But I want you to find that vulnerability deep inside you and share it with us so that we know. And what I want to do, I know there's a way, and I'm going to figure it out. And I'm going to download each live video once it's in the group, and I'm going to put it in a private YouTube channel. And that way when we welcome others into our group, we can send them to that channel so they can go in there and get to know us, right? Because I want us to be a family more than just faces pushing for Success Club or whatever. This is more than that. I want us to be a family. Someone whenever life goes crazy, because here's the thing. In the next year, something big will happen in your life. It might be good, it might be bad. That's the scary thing about life. But I want you to know that you have us to fall back on. Because for so many people, myself included, I didn't necessarily know who I was going to fall back on. Sure, I've got some friends. But through this, Mandy and I have built this awesome friendship. We understand each other. We're very different, but we understand each other. And I want you guys to share that same bond that we do. My desire is to share that same bond with each of your faces. And I know that's Andy's desire as well. So I just wanted to get on here while it was fresh. I've cried like 5 times today thinking about it. But I just wanted you to know where I'm coming from. I know some of you guys don't know me personally, and if like I send you a message or something, I know I can be very blunt. So I want you to know where I'm coming from, and that it's from my heart and it's from a good place. I don't ever want you to feel like you can't reach out to me, that you can't tell me about everything, going wrong in your life. And I want you to know that you can overcome whatever it is, that your struggles can turn into triumphs, and that your story is powerful and can touch someone else. So that's all I have. So give me a week or so. I'm going to get Y Camp together. I'll post it in this group, and I'm not going to put people in it because I'm not going to make it. It's not like a mandatory thing. It's for those that want to do it. So I'll post it in the group, and you can request to join, and we'll go from there. So anybody has any questions or anything, I appreciate you jumping on last minute with me today.
Thank you, Keishia, so much for sharing your story with all of us. And just like she said, you've noticed that we've changed the name because we do want to be a family. And, we were just sitting there at Summit, just really, and we know that our team can be the difference, that our team can be just like some of those teams that are there. And, Thursday, I'm going to be sharing my story with you guys because we've got a lot of new faces, and sometimes we just take for granted that you guys know us and you know our backgrounds, and you might not. So within these next several days, while Keishia gets this group together, I want you to do some self-reflection, and I want you to really think about your why and dig deep. Think about what your story is. Maybe you don't even know what your story is. What makes you you? What obstacles have you overcome in your life? And, think about the things that make you you and dig deep. That's it, guys. Everybody have a great night.
Mandy.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Keishia.